Well, what is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am Dial, and we have returned once again to the Jurassic Park franchise. I am joined with my close friend and fellow YouTuber and future filmmaker, Shannon Jeffrey.
Hello.
So, if you guys are new to my channel, we have talked about all the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies up until this point. We talked about the first three Jurassic Park movies. We talked about Jurassic World, and we most recently talked about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. If you guys haven't seen any of those reviews, I'll leave a link in the description below so you guys can watch them. But today, the time has come. We are talking about the sixth Jurassic Park film, supposedly the final film of the Jurassic franchise. We will be talking about Jurassic World Dominion. Um, okay, so I guess yeah, we'll put spoilers up there because it's been out for like for the a few days, so it's like I think there's certain things we really want to talk about, so it's like we're not gonna dance around the topic. We're gonna put spoilers up there. So if you have not seen Jurassic World Dominion, go watch it and come back and watch our review if you guys don't want anything spoiled. But yeah, let us get into this. So, quick recap as we always do. First Jurassic Park, one of the greatest films ever made, one of our favorite films of all time. It still holds up to this day. The characters are great, effects are great, the themes are great. You know, don't have to say too much about that. Lost World, letdown, big letdown. I know it has its fans, but I just felt like it didn't have the same magic that the first film did, and there's some dim-witted stuff with the plot and the physics of the dinosaurs. And then, yeah, and then it just progressively gets worse from here. Jurassic Park 3 didn't like it all. It's not good to me. But you like it, Shannon. You enjoy it.
Yes,
Yes, good
I do
movie
like
to
it.
him, to her. Um, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. It does have some cool moments, I'll admit, but it's just like I just felt like the plot was getting much dumber. The physics with the dinosaurs are just getting more ridiculous, and then there are some characters in there that were really annoying to me. But to which his own. Then we have the first Jurassic World, which I enjoyed. I thought it was the closest to the quality of the first film. I didn't think it was great though. Still thought there was some weird plot points here and there. Some character motivations were weird. The effects I didn't feel like were fully consistent, but it was such a fun time. It was great seeing
I
to actually
love
see the yeah. It was great seeing the park actually open. So it's like that's something we haven't seen in the Jurassic Park film up until that point. So it was cool seeing that aspect. Um, and then we have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I thought was absolutely horrible. Probably the worst in the series. Um, it's just like the logic completely out the window. The characters' motivations are just insane. The physics with the dinosaurs ridiculous. Like just I just yeah. At that point, I just felt like the franchise just needed to end. As much as I love the first Jurassic Park, I felt like this is a franchise that didn't need to be a franchise. Because like I feel like the first Jurassic Park, it was a very self-contained story. It's like, and if they were going to do sequels, like I didn't expect them to go into the direction that they did. It just feels like they're really forcing with the stuff with the story, even though it logically doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
So it's just like I mean, even though I like Jurassic World, I feel like that was probably the most consistent, like the most logical continuation of the story. But you didn't need to go further than that. But the secret rule in Hollywood: if a movie makes $1 billion, you will become a franchise. You will make sequels. So that's what happened. And then we got the other movies. So it came to this, as I said, like Fallen Kingdom really killed my enthusiasm for anything else coming out of this franchise. I wasn't really. I wanted to be excited for this because hearing that the original cast was going to come back in this movie, I was really looking forward to that, but like I don't know if that was fully going. I don't think that was going to save the movie fully. You know, just given the direction that this franchise has gone into, and it's just like they were just crowbarring this plot point of we're going to get the dinosaurs out in the world. That's their main goal with this, this set of world films. They want to set the dinosaurs free on the planet, even though that's a horrible idea. Absolutely horrible idea. It's like the humans in these movies are so stupid. So stupid. They never learn their lesson. This is the sixth movie. Accident after accident has happened with the dinosaurs, and they're still trying to control them, and it's obviously not working. That's one of the reasons why this. I don't know why this franchise has gone on so long as it has. So it's like you think at this point they will learn their lesson, but okay. And then introducing clones, genetically modified dinosaurs. I'm just like they're just running out of ideas, aren't they? But even though I had my apprehensions, I will say the marketing going into this movie looked pretty good. It looked like an entertaining film. Um, it's like at least I mean I don't think this is going to be a well I didn't think it was going to be a good movie. At least if they could just you know if they could just give us like the cool set pieces with the dinosaurs like attacking all around the world, I think that could be a really interesting, concept for a movie, even if the plot probably will be paper thin. But if they sell us on that and the original cast is good, they get a good amount of screen time, not just cameos. I'm pretty much very happy with that. So we both saw this opening weekend. Um my thoughts are well, it's better than Fallen Kingdom. But this is probably technically I this is probably the third best Jurassic Park film, I would say. But I still didn't love it. I don't even know if I can say this is good. It's I mean, I'm just so frustrated at this point. And honestly, I can't even be super mad at this anymore. I already did all my ranting with the Fallen Kingdom review. If you guys haven't watched that, but at this point, I just can't be mad at it anymore. I just feel hollow at this point. I just feel disappointed. Um, I mean, this didn't really feel like the epic conclusion that they were selling. You know, I mean, it was a conclusion, but did it wrap everything up in a beautiful way? Did everything feel satisfying? Did stuff come to a logical, endpoint? No, but like, I guess I could commend them for trying harder than the last movie and the, Lost World and 3, I guess, but like that's not a high bar at this point. Um, they're still really dim-witted stuff with the humans. Um, and it's like, I mean, it was great seeing the legacy characters back, but it's just like I didn't feel like they fully had it like they did with the original Jurassic Park films. I don't want to say like they were going through the motions, but like there were definitely moments where it felt like they were going through the motions. There were some parts where they were really good, but then some parts where they were just fine. And then like another thing I'm just getting really irritated with when it comes to these movies and the marketing as well. They keep selling us on this one concept for the movie. Like this film is going to be like this. But then when we watch the movie, it's not really like that. Or they touch on it briefly, but then they go to something else. They do it again in this movie. So if you're thinking that this film is going to be about dinosaurs all over the world, running rampant, you know, attacking, eating people around the world. If you think you're going to have that throughout the entire movie, that's not what this film is. And that was the biggest letdown for me. It's like you go through all this trouble to set the dinosaurs free, and they're not the main conflict of the film. So I'm just, I mean, I it, I just I don't know. This movie just really like this movie just really disappointed me. I mean, it's not awful. I think it's okay. There's some cool moments here and there, but like I feel like I'm done. I'm done with this franchise. I'm really done. Um but that's pretty much how I'm feeling. what what were your thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion, Shannon?
Um, I think to start out, I agree with you that I enjoyed it more than I did with Fallen Kingdom. Um, and to see the OG characters come back, it was really exciting. But to me personally, it doesn't mean that it was a bad movie per se, but I feel like personally it just didn't at all feel like a Jurassic Park movie. It didn't feel, even with the Jurassic World characters and the Jurassic Park characters, it just didn't, it felt like a monster movie. It felt completely different than like, watching the original series. There was so much disconnect, I feel like. It doesn't, again, it doesn't mean that it was necessarily a terrible movie overall. It was relatively interesting to watch, and there were moments that I really enjoyed. But like, even the OG characters didn't totally feel like themselves, in my opinion. Uh, Not because of the acting, but I think because, I don't know, just seeing them kind of in this element, in this whole scenario with like technology and like there's so much advancement, and it was so kind of out there and that's for a Jurassic Park movie. It was out there for a Jurassic Park movie. um it felt like seeing them in this scenario, it almost felt just like, it just didn't seem like them. It just seemed like the actors playing a character in a franchise with a bunch of Easter eggs of their past characters, if that makes
They
sense.
they felt out of their element. Like they felt like they should be in a different time period right now.
Yeah, that, and also it just didn't feel like them. It was so exciting
Yeah.
to see them, and I'm like, ah, oh my god, it's them. But like in the at first when you first see them, but like after a while, I'm just like, hello, like you used to, you kicked like Dr. Grant like kicked a pterodactyl in the face, like that's the kind of person he was, and I just felt like they didn't give him, he deserved even more. They were verbally going around and being like, oh, you guys are such legends over here, and in Biosin and stuff like that, and like, great, like we get that verbal like acknowledgement and stuff like that, but we didn't get a ton of like the OG characters shined in their classic way, uh except for Malcolm. They did have like one Easter egg that I really thought was kind of cool, but we could talk about that later once we talk about Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't know, they didn't totally connect to their, like, to the character that we saw um in the original Jurassic Park. Again, it wasn't the actors. I think it was more of like the scenario that they were in. It just didn't help them to totally, I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, yeah, I
it
get
wasn't
you.
totally there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they didn't even know. It felt like half the time they didn't even know what to do. 'Cause like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, how are they supposed to react to all this technology and the genetically modified dinosaurs and all this like stuff and the apocalypse on Earth? Well, it kind of ish, not really, but just yeah, like how are they supposed to? What are they supposed to
Yeah.
do? You
And it
know?
felt like they were almost like they were just scientists. Like they couldn't take what they learned from Jurassic Park and offer any like solutions based off of that, if that makes sense. So there almost wasn't, other than to just be really nostalgic and to please the fans, there almost wasn't a complete reason as to why we see these characters again. You know what I mean? Especially with like the new characters, like, you know, with Bryce and Chris,
Yeah.
they almost outshine them just a little bit in terms of like what to do.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to talk about the characters individually, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll save that for later, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. That was kind of a bummer, but overall, like, yeah, it was a interesting watch. It was a fun watch, but it was a monster movie. It was almost like Fallen Kingdom. I feel like if I went to Fallen Kingdom with the mentality of, okay, this is completely different from, you know, anything that I've seen in Jurassic World and Jurassic Park, then maybe I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more, because I would have seen it like, okay, this isn't the same feel. This is completely different. You know what I mean? Um, for the Jurassic World, it was so similar, and I feel like it matched Jurassic Park so well, and it complemented it so well that, like, you know, those four movies, even with Lost World, like those four movies together, they like fit, you know, for me personally. And I feel like if we were to go like numerically, like 5 and 6 of this whole series or this whole franchise, we're just kind of really separate from everything else, if that makes sense. It was just, they were monster movies. They were fun. They were enjoyable monster movies. They were interesting. They made you think a little bit,
Mhm.
but it wasn't quite Jurassic Park. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I was concerned that was going to happen. You know, as if they kept making sequels, because like there's only there's only so much you could do with dinosaurs attacking people. So it's like the only, as I said in the previous review, like there's only three scenarios that they could do at this point. One, they could create a park in the United States, like Disney World and Universal. Two, they take the dinosaurs, genetically modified them, and use them for military purposes or stuff like that. Or three, they just set the dinosaurs free across the world and run rapid in a post-apocalyptic type of scenario. So they went with option three, but fully didn't fully go into it. They didn't fully go into that. That's just like it's just an afterthought. They're just treating it like, oh, they're just there now. But we're gonna go about with our regular lives and conflict. I'm just like, okay, great. So Colin Trevorrow came back to direct this, and he wrote. I think he helped co-write it as well. Um, I thought him coming back, we would get back to the somewhat of the magic that at least the first Jurassic World gave somewhat. But I also have to keep in mind he helped co-wrote Fallen Kingdom, so it's like I don't know what we're gonna get from Trevorrow at this point. But like, yeah, man. As I said earlier, it's just like you missed such an opportunity to see all the dinosaurs across the world. Like that's kind of cool. I mean, it's dumb how we got to that point, but it's like it was a really cool concept for a movie. Seeing dinosaurs all around the world,
Are
just
they like all around the world, or are they just in the US, or like the continental
I
US?
mean, if they're just in the US, even that, like, there's still a lot of
Oh,
opportunities to. Well, weren't they in a
they were
different
in
country in this
France.
movie? They were
Yeah.
in France. Okay, yeah, of course, and they were in the Arctic as well. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah, so
My
technically
bad.
yes, right. So it's like there's so many cool concepts you could do. Like the end credit scene in Fallen Kingdom, you see the pterodactyls in Las Vegas. You could have saw dinosaurs in Las Vegas. New
Hmm.
York, attacking New York, attacking Oh no, Africa. We saw the shot with the T Rex roaring at the lion. Like you see stuff like that.
I
It's
thought that was
just
a zoo.
zoo. Yeah, okay. Either way, you know, that's cool. Even did you saw that like short clip that Colin Trevorrow released online of Battle at Big Rock, right? Where the dinosaurs were like attacking this like drive-in theater or something like that.
Yeah,
Like that's I actually really like that clip. I liked it a lot, and I was thinking if the movie is like is like that, like it will be a really entertaining time. It's like because that's something new.
that's
We
at
haven't.
least like Lost World related. I feel like almost like we got like a little bit of that. I thought that this was going to be like Lost World 3.0. You know, where like
Yeah.
everything from Jurassic Park is just going wild in all the major cities. And yeah, just like you, like we had to, have like a little like King Kong moment where, there's a giant
Hmm.
monster, you know, roaming around the Empire State Building, and we had to, round them up and collect them and send them off back to the islands or something like that. That's what I expected.
I mean, yeah, that would have actually made sense. It just and seeing how humanity will react to dinosaurs, you know, being a part of their, society and stuff like that. How do they change the ecosystem of the world? How does like will will humanity slowly be in danger? Will they get xed off to the point where humans possibly could become an endangered species and extinct? Because as they established in previous movies, dinosaurs could become the most dominant species on the planet. So it's just like, that's something they could have touched on, but like, no, that's not the conflict of this movie. What the conflict of this movie is, wow, I can't believe this. So we remember Dodson from the first Jurassic Park.
You shouldn't use my name.
Dodson! Dodson! We've got Dodson here! See, nobody cares.
Um, so apparently he is starting this. He started this. He's back. First of all, I didn't even like that. That's really like scraping the bottom of the barrel to me. I mean, I guess that they thought that was a clever way to call back to the first movie, bringing back that one specific character. But it's just like he was such a minute character in the first film, and it's just like I didn't expect him to become like this Steve Jobs type of you know millionaire that starts this like company called Bi- Biosyn. Are you what kind of a name is that? Biosyn.
I didn't make it up.
I know. It's just like wow, that's just lazy writing right there. But because they're doing sins with biotech anyway. But like that just felt really crazy. So Biosyn, the company that Dodson has created. So I guess like he's the DNA samples he's been getting over the years, starting with the first movie when Wayne Knight got samples or whatever. So he has created he's oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this. He's created these locusts, huge grasshopper locusts. Like they're the size of this paper towel, I think, probably bigger than that. He's creating this locust to go across the world and destroy like major crops and plantations and stuff like that. Crops to make food because he wants to sabotage the food supply so everyone will go to his food supply because his the only ones that's not contaminated. So he sabotaged the food crops around the world, so everyone will have to buy off of his food supply, and then he'll become rich. What? Oh, okay. But what? Why did they think this should be the conflict of the movie? Why did they think this is more important than the dinosaurs running rampage across the world? Why are we why That's all I can say is why. Just why? It just
It's
I
like
don't
it's I don't know. I feel like it's like inner messaging again.
In
Just
what
like
way?
it's like I feel like the locust, when I was watching that part of the movie, especially with like the crops and Ellie like, investigating the crops, it felt kind of like a, like the GMO thing. Um I don't know. It was kind of like a bit like conspiracy theorists to me, where it's kind of playing on people's fear of like, our foods being genetically modified, um, in a really harmful way. Um, I don't know. I'm not totally like on board with this topic, so
Yeah, I get you.
I'm not totally like aware of everything. I don't necessarily have a problem with GMOs, but
You
so
think you
I
should?
don't know
You
too.
should. I'll go there. I think you should be careful what how much GMO you put in your body. But that's another topic for
I go organic because I like it more, but like,
yeah.
yeah, I tend to go organic, and they're just always stocked. But
Mm.
um, uh, I don't know. I don't necessarily. I'm not fully. I mean, I am kind of aware, but I don't necessarily have a problem. But like, um, I don't know. It's just I feel like they were kind of playing on that because it's like, they were saying that the bison crops weren't getting touched by the locusts, like because the locusts were, like how did how did they say it? Like they just don't touch the bison crops. I don't know
Yeah,
how to
they don't
explain.
touch the bias in crops. No.
Okay, so it kind of. I don't know. It felt a bit conspiracy theorist, so I don't know how to explain it because I'm not like totally like investigated in, the conspiracy theory of like our food being manipulated for our health or anything like that. But I've definitely heard some conspiracy theories of like, you know, sabotaging this brand or uh I don't know if I'm sounding so stupid right now, but like or of like uh GMOs like specifically being like poisonous and to control the population. That's just kind of what it reminded me of. The whole I felt like they were maybe alluding to like that type of thing, but I don't know. But again, I think it has to like connect towards the idea of like, has science gone too far? Should we be messing with the molecules of our plants so that way they don't rot as fast, or stuff like that. I think that they were once again touching on that, and I feel like our food supply is like a huge part of that, like scientific growth in genetically modified organisms. If that makes Does that make sense?
Yeah. That stuff is fine. I mean, that's interesting thing to bring up. Like, how much GMO or pesticides or hormones we put in our food to, you know, that's an interesting concept to go into. But it's just like, why is it in the Jurassic Park movie? Why is that plot point important? More important than what's going on with the bigger scope of things with the dinosaurs. Why does that doesn't really connect to the dinosaurs at all? Because it's like what they were
Yeah.
what they were alluding to in the first movie when Dodson was trying to get the DNA. He was trying to create like try to do modify stuff with the dinosaurs as well. But that's once again completely abandoned for something completely different. Like
Hmm.
they didn't even do much to connect that to the dinosaurs, like at all. It
Yeah.
just felt very random to make this conflict.
I think that like Jurassic Park in general always had this environmentalism like foundation to this story, where it's like we're not in control of um, the natural world, so why manipulate it? Or we shouldn't be manipulating it. And I think that it's like um, it's gone, it's gone way up lately, in like the later Jurassic Park movies, that like it's a bit too convoluted, or maybe not too, but a lot more convoluted than it was back in the 90s. So I think they had that same, like, you know um they have that same message and that same like foundation, but there's so much to talk about, with like the things that we've learned in the past couple of decades. I feel like they're trying to add more to the story, where they're like, okay, now we're alluding to, GMOs. Now we're alluding to um molecular, um uh uh
So,
biology
but
manipulation,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
um to cure cancer, stuff like, which, that part I think has always been kind of an idea that they didn't really talk about in Jurassic Park. Did they ever talk about like using Jurassic Park technology to cure cancer or anything like that? They
nope,
didn't.
nope.
Yeah, so I think that they took like, maybe like the writers, maybe like Colin, just like thought about it for a little bit and was like, you can, like, that's kind of the idea with like, curing, um like gene related diseases, right? I don't
Yeah,
know,
I
that like
guess.
doctors are working on now. So I think that because it's more of a prominent conversation now, than it was in the 90s, they're trying to bring it up in Jurassic Park because it kind of relates, or it does relate to it in some way. It's just there's so much going on in one movie that it's like, what? Like, I thought we were talking about this. Now look at all these bugs. Where did
Right,
they
like
come from?
bugs. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, in the Jurassic Park movie, and it's just like another thing. They're just doing themselves a disservice because, like, with them just going from one plot point to the next, with not fully giving them enough time to like develop, like you're
Mhm.
doing yourself a disservice because, like, you know, it doesn't feel organic at this point. That's if they wanted to go into specific
But we're
organic.
going non-GMO over here. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But if they wanted to like if they wanted to expand on that idea, that should have been its own separate thing for another film. If you wanted to continue with more movies, there are so many ideas that they plop into one movie where I'm like, you could just save this for another film, not just shoehorn it in to a film that has something that's dealing with a completely different conflict. So it just feels like bipolar. These movies feel bipolar. But another thing that threw me off was the actor for Dodson is not even the same actor from the first movie. It's the actor who played Peter Parker's father in the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I know. I was like, oh, so that's what he was doing when Peter was growing up.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing Spider-Man and Jurassic Park in the same universe, confirmed.
Yep.
but
Confirmed.
yeah, so but speaking of that, didn't really like him in this movie. Didn't like him. There was honestly, as far as his performance, like I didn't see any quantifiable difference between Dodson and Peter Parker's dad. Gave the exact same performance.
Yeah.
Except he might be a little bit more awkward in this, but it's just like no. And then it's like,
I
I
didn't
mean,
know it was him.
yeah, like right. He didn't feel like the same character. I mean, I know we got
Yeah.
very little of him in the first Jurassic Park, but it's like, as we said, we didn't think he would turn out to be this guy in Dominion.
Yeah. I
It's
honestly, like, halfway through the film, they said, they finally said his name again, and that's when it like clicked. And I looked over at like the person next to me, and I was like that, and like they're like, because they didn't know either.
uh,
So I'm like trying to be like, that's the guy from Jurassic Park. Like, I finally like came to that realization in my head, but I didn't even make that connect. It's just when I first heard his name for the first time, I was like, oh, that sounds like the name of the guy from the first Jurassic Park. But I never put it together until like an hour into the movie, and I was like, oh, it was kind of funny. Like, it's just completely separate from, like you said, like who we saw him as in the first Jurassic Park. So I don't know.
Mhm. Were you expecting Wayne Knight to make an appearance at some point? Oh wait, no, he's dead. He's dead. I
Yeah,
forgot.
I
I'm
was
like,
like,
oh gosh,
no.
I'm so sorry.
Can I just say though, I
Yeah.
love that connection that
Yeah.
they had in like terms of like how Dodson and Wayne died. Like it
Uh,
was like the same dinosaurs.
yeah.
And I kind of like noticed that when like during that scene, I was like, oh my gosh, just like Wayne.
Just
That's
like Wayne,
crazy.
they
Yeah.
even brought back the little that can that Wayne Knight used. Like it was like
Yeah.
display. Yeah. So like, oh, I see what you did there. Okay.
Which, like, I feel like he kind of took it with him for, like, the nostalgia or something because no, like, shaving cream can looks like that anymore.
No.
Right? So, like, it's kind of like, what was he doing with that? You know
Like
what I mean?
I want to remember the time where I appointed I had Wayne Knight get some DNA samples for me, but he failed miserably and got
Yeah.
killed.
I
I
guess
just
it's,
for sentimental value.
yeah, I guess it's a way to, like, hold the samples. It's like a good, like, sample holder, but, like, you'd think if he's that rich, he'd just get a new one. So, I don't know.
Whatever. Easter eggs,
Easter
yeah.
eggs. That's, yep.
Woo.
I'll take it. I like Easter eggs. So,
Great. So, um, so I guess going into the characters. I guess. Um, I would say the legacy characters for last.
okay, good.
Um,
Can we
so,
start with the least favorite?
are we thinking about the same person,
Yes, we are. I know it.
Macy?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Let's get her out the way.
Thank you.
Um, she's annoying in this movie, and I thought she would be a little bit more mature at this point because, like, she's growing up. I think she's like 17 now. I think
She's 14 for
14. Oh, I'm
me.
sorry. The actual actress is 17, but
Yes.
14 at this point. I thought she'd be more mature, but nope. We have to go through teenage adolescence.
Which is so annoying. You go first. I'll talk about it later
Okay,
once I'm done.
so I guess they established that that Claire and Owen adopts Macy.
Hmm.
Macy Owen and Claire got back together again. So like thank God, they're starting to get go. They love each other. Thank you. We shouldn't have gone through this breakup stuff in Fallen Kingdom. So that's great. So they adopt Macy and they live in a log cabin in the woods. I wouldn't live in a log cabin in the woods because of all the dinosaurs running rampant, but that you do you. Um, so so this whole so for some reason, the entire world knows who Macy is. Like they know that she's the clone. How do they know that? How did they get this information? It's broadcasted like with when the millennials do their little like TMZ thing on the TV, and like there's that one lady that was like Lily giving us previously on Fallen Kingdom, like Lily just saying what happened in the previous movie, and somehow they found out that Macy was a clone. All right, sure. So apparently now she's in danger of that people want to find her, I guess, and capture her for I guess do some like more experiments with her, figure out how she is the way she is. And so Owen and Claire are like, you can't go out in public by yourself, which logically, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. If you have a bunch of people after you, you don't want to put yourself out there like that. But Macy, being the adolescent teen that she is like, you guys suck. You guys don't let me do anything. I'm not a baby. I'm like, oh my god. You don't let me do anything fun. Stop treating me like a child. Like, what? First of all, you little brat, You're the one that set the dinosaurs free in the first place. You wouldn't be in the situation if you didn't do that. So I would watch your tone. You're lucky to be alive right now. You're lucky that Claire and Owen are even taking you in. So it's like, be a little more grateful. Okay? Like, we're not in the best of circumstances right now. There's no time for you to just act like a little bitch. I'm sorry. So no, I did not like
You
her
squeaked when you said that.
little bitch. But and then like then I didn't think her backstory could be more convoluted, but they
Yeah.
somehow found a way. So apparently, she's not like I. She's technically not fully a clone because apparently she had a mother and had a and apparently the she created a baby on her own. So there was no father. She created the embryos on her own using genetic experiments. I guess that's similar to the stuff that they were using to create the dinosaurs. And apparently, um, her mother had like this disease, and like she created this like antidote for her, so she doesn't get the same disease as her mother did. But like, what I guess what technically makes her a clone is that she looks exactly like her. So when later in the movie when Dr. Wu is showing her the footage of her mother, Lily looks exactly like Macy. So and then seeing her grown up and stuff like that. So it's like so that's the bigger another twist with her. And again, I'm asking, who cares? Why is this important? What? Why? Again, that's the tagline of this movie. Why? Why? So yeah, and once again, I didn't care about her being endangered because I don't care about this character. You endangered humanity, so why should I care about you? Um, but yeah, it just didn't help the fact that she's acting like a brat for most of the film. But anyway, how did you feel about Macy? The best character of the movie, right?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I like the actress. I think she's
Yes.
really sweet.
Yeah, as I said, like this has nothing to do with the actress herself or her performance. We have no personal problems with that actress. It's just we have a problem with the character and how she's written. So
Yeah, I think that they wrote her. First of all, I was never that disrespectful as a 14-year-old. I was never that angsty. And like, I feel like, my friends weren't like that. It's just, I feel like it was like the stereotype of a 14-year-old. Just completely, like, she was like flipping off doctors and, um, you know, telling Bryce after Bryce like saved her, or Claire, sorry, telling
oh, yeah,
Claire like, you're not my mother, you can't stop me. And then she takes the bike that probably wasn't hers, so it was probably Claire's or their bike, and she's just scooting on down. Like, she should know the severity of the situation even 4 years after the Fallen Kingdom event took place. So why is she so eager to break the rules and to it's just it's kind of weird. It was just weird. She seemed very ignorant for everything that happened to her in Fallen Kingdom, despite the fact that she was a kid. She was just very ignorant and disrespectful, and I felt like that by the time we got to after everything that happened, by the time that we got to, like, the meat and potatoes of the story, and we were seeing her interact with Grant and Sattler, it was just like, yeah, again, I don't care if she's Raptor Chow. Like I just didn't which was so mean. Well, actually, you know what? I would care because I would not want to see like a kid getting like
I mean,
no.
no, I don't want to see a kid getting eaten, but just like,
Yeah. But like I couldn't care if I was so annoyed by her character. Like I didn't care if she existed in the franchise after that because of the way that they wrote her to be so like just so rude. It was so annoying. So and it just didn't fit with how like, you know, she was little and she was just a kid in Fallen Kingdom. You know, there was nothing wrong with her. She was just like all the other kids from Jurassic Park, you know? So to see everything that she went through and to be like, I want to go off on my own and be a real girl or whatever. It was like, I don't get it. I
yeah,
wouldn't I wouldn't have been like that. Like I know it was 11 years ago since I was 14, but you know, I I know for a fact that like 14-year-old version of me would not act like that. So it just felt like it felt like the writers forgot what it was like to be a teenager and just wrote based off of just like Netflix stereotypes. You know what I mean?
hmm
It was just it didn't make sense.
no.
But
And it's like, okay, so here's the thing about that. See, what a lot of people don't know about Shannon is that like she is one of the nicest people on the planet. So
the
you can't.
actress?
No. You. I'm talking about you.
Oh,
Well,
me? Oh,
I'm letting the audience know. Like, so what people don't know, Shannon is one of the nicest human beings on the planet. So there's
oh,
no way she could turn into a Macy at all. So it's like, of course, you weren't like that as a teenager, even on your worst days. But like, I know teenagers, teenage girls that do act like that. So somewhat, yes, that is accurate. But that's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Whenever I complain about child actors or teenage actors, middle schoolers, stuff like that, and say how annoying they are about being like all edgy and angsty and stuff like that, everyone wants to hit me with, but that's how they are in real life. That's how they were. Teenagers are horrible. I mean, yes, I know middle schoolers, little kids, teenagers, they are horrible. We've been through that phase. We were teenagers before. We know how they are. Does that make it more entertaining to watch? No, it still makes it annoying. And I'll just say this one thing.
okay.
I'll let you go, because as if you guys know, I am going through the Stranger Things seasons as well. They go through their angsty type of stuff, but it's like they're able to find a balance to where it's like it's not overwhelming or it doesn't make the kids unlikable. You still are invested in those characters because they knew when to pull back. Because they knew that we still had to like them. We still had to enjoy watching them. They could go through their angst, but they knew not to overdo it you know so that's the one problem. You can have your angsty teens and middle schoolers, but like you still have to make them likable. You make them relatable when they're going through this angsty stuff. Make us feel empathy for them. So that's my problem with them. I'm tired of the argument of, but that's how they are. That doesn't make them better. That doesn't make it better because that's how it happens in real life. But anyway, go ahead, Shannon.
It's also kind of not too. It's like I feel like um I'll do like because you brought up Stranger Things. Yeah, I would totally compare Maisie to 11 and like how she behaved too in Stranger Things. But I'm gonna say 11 was totally understandable. Like when she got adopted by Hopper, um, and she started having temper tantrums and going against Hopper, um, and screaming and all this stuff like that. I think it came from the fact that she didn't understand why she couldn't be like her other friends, why she couldn't be like Mike or Dustin, and um
And on top of that, all the broken promises that Hopper was giving to 11, saying that, I promise this is going to happen. I promise you'll be able to do this. And he doesn't follow through with them. So it makes her more frustrated. So,
yeah. And I think that like you know, I think for that situation, like 11 was like more understandable. And I think for Macy, the issue is this: she didn't have friends to compare herself to or her experience to. She didn't have um a normal world necessarily, whereas like opposed to Stranger Things, like, you know, the kids were able to just once, you know, the craziness of the past season had died down, the next season would start with them kind of having a relatively like normal life again. You know, like we would pick back up with them like going to the arcade and, you know, going to the mall and stuff like that. And um 11 didn't totally even get that because Hopper was putting all these rules on her. And that's when she started rebelling because she couldn't have the same amount of freedom as the other kids did. But for Macy, yeah, she did have like rule restrictions, like she couldn't go far away from the cabin, stuff like that. But she was relatively like lucky still, I would say, based off of like, you know, it was a chaotic world. There were always dinosaurs. Like there was never like a point where life went back to normal between Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. So there was never a resting period where she was just like she was observing normal life. You know what I mean? So I just don't feel like she had, I don't know. I feel like she should, despite how young she is as a character, I feel like any 14-year-old would understand the severity of their own situation in that situation. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 11 kind of felt like, why is there still stuff like to be afraid of? Why haven't you fixed this yet? Everything was supposed to go back to normal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. That's just kind of how I see it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, no, yeah, that completely makes sense. Like on
Okay,
top
good.
of the fact, like before she found out she was a clone, she was living a normal life, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like there was never really like this like I mean obviously she was like wondering how what happened to her mother and stuff like that. But as
Mhm.
far as how she is as like a living person, like there's nothing that made her different from any regular human being. She has no side effects. You know, she's not in, you know, she doesn't have any like weird genetic deformity or nothing. She's just a regular person. It would be
Yeah.
one thing if they added something to her, like like that made her different, but like that's why I'm saying like that's another plot point that they shouldn't be ignoring. That you created another human life form with no defects, like no problems biologically, like that's something that people should be trying to make money on, even though that's
Hmm.
another like whole can of worms that will like affect society as well. Like that's another thing we got to question about the integrity of creating a human life form. Like that's another thing, you know. But it's just like you know, it'll be one thing if she had you know some deformities, but she doesn't, and then she hasn't really interacted with other kids, as you said, for her to compare to like she wants to go out there and do what regular kids do. Like there's
How would
nothing
she
like
know?
that. Yeah, how would
Yeah.
she know exactly? You know,
Right.
and she's just so. I mean, she was so young at Fallen Kingdom. It's like, would that really like affect her that much? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, I've also been a teacher for the past year, and I've been teaching kids relatively around the age of 14. And coming out of like a global pandemic, too, I would say that kids these days are really good, like these days especially, are really good at understanding safety precautions and protocols that are set in place by their higher ups and stuff like that. They didn't tend to question it all that much. They just knew that they had to do what they had to do. Um, you know, maybe that was just my students either, but I just don't see, again, like, I just don't see 14-year-olds behaving like that. It felt like an outdated stereotype again. The way
Yeah.
that she was just portrayed. I don't know. I just didn't understand this character. Like, the way that she behaved too, oof. And the way that like she was kind of allowed to steamroll over her parents, you know? It was crazy, but we'll probably talk about that with her parents when we talk about her parents. But
Yeah.
yeah, she had so much allowance too to just like bail.
Right. Like
And
there's not really much consequences with that, or they're just really like lenient on her, you know.
yeah,
But like
like
what? Yeah.
go
Sorry, what
ahead.
you gonna say?
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
like, it was so funny to like watch moments where Claire is like, "Oh my god, where are you going? You're not allowed to go past the bridge," and she's like, "You're not my mom. I don't care." And then left, and like Claire's like, "Oh, okay, sorry." Like,
Like, why are you saying sorry, Claire? Like,
yeah, it's like okay, go ahead.
no, she's being insubordinate to
I
you.
know.
She's disrespectful. Don't take that shit. But like,
Yeah, and then Owen's like, "Did you talk to her?" And Claire's like, "Oh, I tried." Like,
you tried? You tried?
if I had parents like that, oh, and maybe that was their reasoning. Maybe they were just too lenient of parents. But I don't see like how is it, and it didn't fit the character dynamic of those two either. But we'll talk about that later.
Right, right, right. It's just
But
like, as I said, yeah, I felt like it was really too extreme how she was acting. It's like, and you're like, once again, you're in a life and death situation with not only the dinosaurs, but other people knowing what you are and trying to do like experimental means with you. I would be a little bit more respectful, just a little bit, you
yeah,
know?